All right, so today we're really doing a deep dive into Allied Venture Partners.
AVP, for sure.
AVP, exactly.
Yeah.
We've got Thrive Their Newsletters, April, May, June 2024.
Yeah, their newsletters have been really making waves, and we're kind of getting to go behind the scenes with these.
Yeah, it's like a peek behind the curtain
So,
of a
yeah.
VC firm, which
Yeah.
is not something you get every day.
No, not at all.
So for those who maybe aren't familiar, can you just give us like the high-level overview of who Allied Venture Partners is?
Yeah, so they're a venture capital firm led by Matt Wilson, their founder and managing director, and they specialize in early-stage investments.
Okay, so that's like classic high-risk, high-reward venture capital.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they primarily focus on Canada and the U.S., but their portfolio is very diverse in terms of the industries they invest in.
And their team is interesting too, right? Because they're big on transparency, which again, not typical for this world.
No, most venture capital firms are very much kind of like operating in the shadows.
Behind closed doors.
Yeah, exactly. Very secretive.
Yeah.
But not AVP. They're giving us a lot of insight into how they think and what they're working on.
So how do they actually put this transparency into action? What are they doing?
So they provide regular updates to their partners, which are their investors,
Okay.
through these newsletters. And it's not just about the numbers.
Yeah.
It's about their thought process,
Okay.
like how they make decisions.
So it's more than just an investment update. It's like we're getting into their strategy.
Exactly. They're sharing their market analysis, even some of their predictions for the future, which is unusual for a VC firm to do so publicly.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's a couple ways to interpret this, right? Like, is it a strategy to stand out? Is it just them being like really genuine about wanting to communicate?
It's a good question.
Or is it a bit of both?
It's probably a bit of both, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this level of openness is pretty rare in the VC world.
Yeah.
It could be a way to build stronger relationships with their investors.
That makes sense.
Show them, like, hey, we're being transparent. This is how we operate.
Yeah, and it gives us like almost a unique opportunity to see how they're actually picking these companies.
Exactly, and to understand their successes and the challenges they face.
Because, from what we've seen so far, they do seem to have like a knack for choosing companies that are just on the verge of blowing up.
They do, yeah. They've had some really impressive exits.
Yeah, like Rook, the enterprise software company.
Right. The revenue growth has been amazing.
And then there's, what was the other one? Trace.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of attention from major firms like Sequoia and Andreessen Horowitz.
Oh, wow. Those are some big names.
Big names, yeah.
So AVP is clearly playing in the big leagues here.
They are, yeah. And they're not afraid to go head-to-head with the biggest names in Silicon Valley.
They're not shying away from competition at all.
Nope.
And it's not just about who they're investing in, but where.
Right. They're looking beyond the usual suspects.
Like, what was that one? Fonbnk?
Fonbnk, yeah, that's a fascinating one. Transforming the fintech landscape in Africa.
That's not exactly Silicon Valley, is it?
No, definitely not the first place you'd think of for cutting-edge fintech.
And then there was that AI company, Tiliter.
Tiliter, yeah, bringing AI into physical retail stores, which is not where you'd usually see that kind of tech.
Exactly. It's like they have this sense for like spotting the diamond in the rough.
Yeah, like a sixth sense for potential.
Exactly.
Where others might just see risk, they see opportunity.
And that's what we're going to like really unpack in this deep dive. What is their secret sauce? What are the insights we can take away from their strategy? Because clearly something is working for them.
Right. So what can we learn from their approach? And what are the potential pitfalls that we should be aware of?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah. And we'll get into all of that in the next part of our deep dive.
So we're back, ready to dig deeper into AVP.
And there's a lot to unpack here.
There is. But one thing that really jumped out at me from their newsletters was Matt Wilson's take on AI.
It's unavoidable these days, right?
It's everywhere you look.
Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon.
Exactly. But Wilson, he doesn't exactly sound convinced.
Interesting.
He even used the B word, bubble.
He did, didn't he? That's a bold statement in this climate.
It feels like everyone's all in on AI right now.
Yeah, the hype is real, but Wilson's drawing some interesting parallels to the dot-com boom, even those early days of mobile apps.
Which, in hindsight, were definitely periods of massive growth, but also a lot of overvaluation, let's be honest.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of companies that didn't really have a solid foundation.
Yeah. So is that what he's saying is happening with AI? That it's all hype and no substance?
Not quite. He's not saying avoid AI altogether, but he's urging investors to be cautious, to look beyond the buzzword.
So find the companies that are actually solving real problems.
Exactly. He argues that, just like those previous tech booms, a lot of today's AI companies are built on shaky ground.
So we're still in those early innings.
Yeah, and he predicts that a huge percentage, like 90% of current AI investments, will probably fail.
90%. That's a scary thought. So what's an investor to do? Just steer clear of AI completely?
No, not necessarily. It's about being discerning.
So how do you tell the difference between the hype and the real deal?
Wilson stresses the importance of looking for companies with proven track records.
Companies that are using AI strategically, not just as a marketing ploy?
Exactly. It's about finding the businesses that are adding real value for their customers.
So it's about looking for substance over hype.
Absolutely.
And this actually ties back into Wilson's whole investment philosophy, right? Investing in what he calls non-consensus opportunities.
Yes. He talks about this extensively in the April newsletter.
The companies that everyone else is overlooking?
Right, the ones that challenge conventional thinking, that zig when everyone else zags.
Like Airbnb and Uber back in the day.
Perfect examples. Those were considered pretty out there at the time.
Staying in a stranger's apartment, hailing a ride with your phone. Radical.
And a lot of investors just didn't get it.
But the ones who did, well, they hit the jackpot.
Exactly. And that's what Wilson is advocating for, having the foresight to spot those potential game changers before they're obvious to everyone.
So it's about having that vision.
It's about trusting your gut, but also doing your due diligence.
AVP is big on that, right?
Yeah, they really emphasize thorough research. They dig deep into the financials, the target market, everything.
They're not leaving anything to chance.
No, they're talking to customers, advisors, really getting a 360-degree view of the company.
So it's a combination of intuition and analysis.
Exactly. They're not just throwing darts at a board.
Which makes their success even more impressive, right? They're finding these hidden gems and making really strategic investments.
It's a testament to their approach.
Yeah, but as we all know, the world of venture capital, it's not always smooth sailing.
There are definitely challenges.
Even for a firm like AVP.
And one of the biggest ones that Wilson highlights is this idea of the LP dilemma.
The LP dilemma.
Yeah, it's this tension between securing funding and staying true to your investment philosophy.
Because you need money to invest, but you also need the freedom to invest in what you believe in.
Exactly. And Wilson points out that more and more fund managers are feeling the pressure to cater to their LPs.
They're limited partners.
Yeah. So instead of having the flexibility to invest broadly, they're being pushed towards very specific sectors, very specific types of companies.
So it's like being told you can invest, but only in these specific boxes.
Right. And that can really limit their options, potentially even causing them to miss out on amazing opportunities.
So it becomes a balancing act.
Absolutely. Trying to keep everyone happy while staying true to your vision.
And that is the LP dilemma.
That's the crux of it.
And it's something that Matt Wilson actually offers some advice on, right? So how does he suggest navigating this dilemma? So we've got this LP dilemma, right? This balancing act between getting the funding and sticking to your guns, investment-wise.
It's a tough one. And it's not just a VC thing, really.
No, it's like, how do you chase your dreams but also pay the bills? It's universal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how does Wilson say we tackle this in the VC world specifically?
That's what I want to know.
Well, he's big on transparency, which tracks with everything else we've seen from him.
Right, like radical honesty with your investors.
Basically, you got to educate them on how you think, what your risk tolerance is, the whole 9 yards.
Not just give me money, I'll make you more, but the why behind it.
Exactly. It's about building that trust, finding LPs who get you.
So they're not going to freak out when you back that dark horse, the one nobody else sees.
Exactly. Because when they trust your judgment, you've got the freedom to make those bold moves.
And those are often the ones that pay off big time.
Often, yeah. But it takes guts to make that call.
Speaking of which, Wilson uses this metaphor, protecting the flywheel. What's that all about?
So he compares a healthy startup scene to a flywheel. Needs momentum to keep spinning.
Keep those investments flowing.
Right. And if VCs are too restricted, too scared to take risks because of their LPs.
The whole thing slows down.
Exactly. Innovation suffers. Everyone loses in the long run.
So it's finding that sweet spot. Yeah. Keeping your investors happy, but not at the cost of your vision.
Exactly. And that's AVP in a nutshell. They've got that clear vision. They do their homework, and they keep those lines of communication open.
They're not afraid to be the odd one out, backing those underdogs, and they stick to their guns, even when it's tough.
And it's clearly working for them. They're onto something.
They are. This deep dive into AVP has been eye-opening, to say the least.
They've gone from their portfolio to how they actually pick companies, to this whole LP dilemma.
It's a lot, but the takeaway is clear. Understanding each other, investors, VCs, that's crucial.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to go against the grain. Those unconventional paths, those are often where the magic happens.
It's about being bold, trusting your gut,
And having the data to back it up, of course.
always. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Allied Venture Partners. If you want more info, check out the show notes for links to their newsletters and all that good stuff.
Lots to think about there.
There is. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and most importantly, keep that entrepreneurial spirit alive.